Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR GT3's iRacing series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Good evening, iRacers. Welcome to Finding Speed GT3 League. Round 2 here today from the historic Hungaroring, from the sunset of round 1 at Road Atlanta in North America. Last week, here we are in the heart of Europe, and yeah, here for a fantastic round 2. 45-minute race ahead of us today in the GT3s. We saw a cracking round 1 2 weeks ago. Clean racing for the majority of it. Fantastic start to the race with no big incidents, and in the end it was a decisive victory from Tom Dadswell in the Pro Gold class and the overall standing. So yeah, hoping for more of the same today. Lee Thompson here bringing you the commentary alongside Dane Baird with Samuli Kumo on the cameras in the production booth. Dane, great to have you here for round 2 and for the rest of the season. We've got another nice full grid ahead of us with 37 cars that I see in the session. Between these 3 classes, we're going to see some good racing again today, hopefully.
Yep, absolutely. We definitely should see some good racing here. Hungaroring's a very new circuit to iRacing. I believe it's only been on surface for 31 days. It's the newest circuit in the road racing roster for iRacing, so a lot of the drivers may not have done too much racing here before outside of the VRS GT series, one of the iRacing official series that this championship tries to mirror in terms of its schedule. But a pretty short, tight and twisty circuit. It's obviously famous for hosting the Hungarian Grand Prix in Formula 1, but it does host various other types of motorsport, including GT cars regularly, and they do normally provide some good racing here, unlike Formula 1 usually does. So hopefully we get some of that here today. It's with a fairly big grid on the circuit, it might get a bit cramped, especially near the end of this 45-minute race that we have coming up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that crampness through the qualifying session that we're going to have starting in, 7 minutes as well. I mean, I was going to say exactly the same thing that you pointed out there, Dane. Obviously, kind of our exposure to Hungaroring, if you like, is, the F1 drivers complaining that there's no chance for them to overtake or anything in real life, and it's just tends to be a processional race. But like I say, hoping it's going to be very different in these GT3 cars. It's a classic old school track. It's not particularly wide. You haven't got big runoffs everywhere. You've got grass on the edge of a track in most places. So it's going to be a challenge for the guys, I'm sure. A few mistakes here and there, we'll have to see. But yeah, hopefully, as you said, it will provide us some decent racing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the guys cope with that qualifying session as well. So yeah, as I mentioned a minute ago, it's going to be a 45-minute race. It's going to have a mandatory pit stop in it because all the cars are going to be limited to a 50% fuel tank. So they're going to have a pit window, with a good sort of 10-15 minute kind of window in the middle of the race to take their pit stop and make sure that they have enough fuel to get to the end. We saw a couple of people maybe in round 1-2 weeks ago just playing that a little bit riskier than others, so we'll have to see again who's going to make like an early break, try and get out of traffic, who's maybe going to cut it a little bit tight on fuel, try and save a fraction of a second in pit lane. It's all about how much of a risk the drivers are going to want to take. We can see at the minute, as practice session is kind of coming into its closing minutes, that Kataya is top of the Pro Gold standings for now, with last week's race winner Tom Dadswell just in second. Top of the Pro Silvers is currently Tom Brown, so 4th overall, first in class, and the top of the Pro Bronze drivers is Oscar Sale, currently 11th overall. So we're seeing again a good little cluster of the Pro Gold drivers at the top, but the Silvers mixing in there, and the top bronze just outside of that top 10 space. So it looks like again the class splits are going to be working out pretty well for the guys out there today. Let's have a quick look at the championship standings after that round one. So each, I say, we got these 3 classes. They're each scoring individual points just for their class, right? So if I overtake someone in a different class to them, it doesn't affect the points that they get. They're still going to be just getting the points for their class, if you like. So a win is a win no matter what your position is overall. So in the Pro Gold standings, we got Tom Dadswell, as I said, in the pole position with 42 points. Then Jussi Kataja in second, Dominicus Jefsea in with 34 points in third, Jensen Agensons in fourth, with Stephen Brumfield in fifth, Ryan Walker, then Roman Kubin, Miko Malcavara, Russell Barnes in ninth, who, just to remind you, he's the series organizer. He's missing Finding Speed, and he is going to be starting from the back of the grid in each race and trying to make his way through the field. Lockie Brown then in 10th, and Ted Bradbury currently 11th in the Pro Gold. If we have a quick look at the Pro Silver standings as well, we're going to see that Patrick Gannon, who finished second overall last week, got those 42 points for the race win in Pro Silver, followed by Dara Agenson and Stin van Nielen in third. Dan Carter, Kevin Kittelman, Anthony Beck, Adam Coles, Robert Lancaster, Jaco Boshoff and Tom Brown completing the top 10 in the silver. And you can see it's really tight in the points all the way through, right? So the winner has a little bit of a gap over the rest with a 7 point, and then it's just 1 point all the way down. So it is going to make a big difference to the guys getting the next position in their own class to climb their way up the field. And then the Pro Bronze standings to finish us up as well. And we've got Cole Gray at the top of the Pro Bronze standings, with Ed Knight in second, Alex Peck third, then Angel Pedrero, Luke Davis, Colin McKenzie, Dave Erdin, Robert Odoms, Matt Knudsen and Kosh Kelly rounding out the top 10 in the Pro Bronze. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those championship standings develop as we go through the season. They're going to have one dropped week that they've got available to them in the 5-week season. So their lowest scoring round of the season they get to throw away and the points remaining are what actually counts towards the championship. So yeah, Dane, it's an interesting point system where, like I say, the winner gets that little bit of a gap over the field, if you like, and then really, let's say, after that, every single position that you can make within your own class in a race is going to make a difference, because it's going to be very, very tight.
Yep, absolutely. It's very similar to the NASCAR point scoring system, where it's 1 point gaps between each of the drivers in their finishing positions. It's interesting to note that the prize for the points haul for first place in each class is 40 points. So when you see drivers with 41 or 42 in those standings, it's where they've got bonus points. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the bonus points are for. I can imagine maybe it's due to how many instant points you get. If you finish without instant points at all, you might get a bonus point, and maybe faster start as well. But there have been a couple of drivers gaining some bonus points throughout the first round as well. So those bonus points, especially if you can get some in the midfield, could be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a quick check as you were speaking. Bonus points are awarded to drivers with 3 or less instants per race and for pole position within their own class. So that's where we're going to see the bonus points. So kind of surprising that we didn't see maybe kind of more differences in points through the standings with 3 or less instants per race available. Just shows, I guess, that it was a pretty hard race out there for round 1. It'll be interesting to see if it's a similar struggle for the guys out there at round 2 at Hungaroring. Hungaroring, Dane, as you said, is a recent addition to the iRacing service. It's actually the first time that I've seen it for myself in commentary on one of our broadcasts. I mean, we know it well from being a permanent fixture in F1. I mean, how do you feel about this track? I mean, would you fancy giving the GT3s a good thrashing around this circuit, or is it not really going to be your sort of style, do you think?
Well, I do a lot of iGPS, and it was on the calendar a couple of weeks ago. It was a lot of fun in the McLaren MP430 on iRacing. I also did a bit of testing on it in week 13 when it came out with the new Porsche Cup. And that was a lot of fun as well. Just being told by Samui that in the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship that they had a lot of good racing there as well in those cars. The Porsche Cup nowadays, with the new 992 model, is much more similar to these GT3 cars than its predecessors. So that might be a good sign for what we might see here today. But it is actually a 1X magnet. You wouldn't think so, considering how old the circuit is and it's tight and twisty, but through especially the S's, if you cut a little bit too much on the curbs on the inside or run a bit wide, because there is a fair amount of tarmac runoff here, then you can pick up 1X's and even slow down penalties, which, especially in the first couple laps of the race, you definitely want to be avoiding those, because they could be rather disastrous, as everybody's just been very unceremoniously kicked off the circuit at the end of practice, and open qualifying is underway.
Yeah, so we've got a 20-minute qualifying session ahead of us, and I suspect the guys are going to need every minute of it, because, like you said, Dane, open qualifying, so all the cars are going to be potentially out on track at the same time, and yeah, there's not a huge amount of space out there. I wonder how much kind of, a little bit of backing up we're going to see around turns sort of 12, 13, try and give themselves a little bit of space to get a run out of the final corner onto the main front straight. Like I said, the guys have got plenty of time, so hopefully if they do have an odd lap here and there where they get tripped up, it's not going to be the biggest of dramas. They can have a little breather, give it another run and get going again. Yeah, so the Hungaroring, I'm looking forward to seeing this decent action, Dane. Like I say, I think it's going to be certainly a good track for the guys out there. Turn 1 is the big braking zone on the circuit, so that's the traditionally where you think the opportunity would be to get them under the brakes, but I dare say in these GT3 cars we're going to see opportunities are a little bit more around the back of the circuit as well, where they don't necessarily are going to be relying solely on a long straight and a heavy braking zone at the end of it. So yeah, looking forward to it. We can see all the guys out on track. Vast majority of cars have gone straight out, so it looks like sort of 30 or so of the 37 have gone instantly straight out on circuit in the first minute, so it's going to be pretty frantic from here on out for them.
Yeah, and I think that we might see maybe some mistakes from drivers. It's a very tricky circuit, especially the middle sector, so mistakes are probably going to be quite common. I know they were in the IGPS series when that series was here. Mistakes can be common here, and that would allow more opportunities for these cars, these GT3s, which race each other pretty well, to try and capitalize on any mistakes that may be made. You can see the drivers getting pretty slow through this final couple of corners, the 2 hairpins. Not just because the hairpins are slow, but to also give themselves some room, because there's no advantage at this place of being close behind someone, as there may be at, say, Road Atlanta, where we were for round number 1 with the big back straight, getting a nice big draft. It's just corner after corner after corner, so having someone right in front of you is only distracting and maybe even giving you a bit of dirty air. Not so much in these GT3 cars, but I don't think there's any advantage at all to following someone closely here.
No, I don't think so. And like I say, definitely seeing the games already beginning on the very first out laps. Like you say, people starting to have to back off into the final corner. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on the qualifying session as it develops and see how the guys manage to shake themselves out. Whilst we have a little bit of time until things really kick off in the session, let's thank our primary sponsors for the Finding Speed GT3 League, which are Azertech SimSports. Azertech SimSports Invicta pedals are for the competitive gamer and racing enthusiast who want an immersive sim racing experience. The Invicta pedals have a hydraulic brake cylinder, a proper clutch bite point, and differentiate from other manufacturers by having a true life feel and intuitive setup, all to give you the best and most realistic racing experience of driving on a real circuit. So if you want to find out more about them, then you head to azertechsimsports.com. They're going to be providing the primary prizes for the championship winners at the end of the season. Also, Apex Racing Academy are contributing to the prize pool as well. Apex Racing Academy provide data packs for over 29 cars. They provide coaching services and direct contact with those coaches through Discord for all members as well. You can also integrate your virtual racing school account if you have one of those, and gain access to telemetry data through their service as well. So if you're interested in improving on iRacing, following those official series, then you can check out apexracingac.com as well. And just to squeeze our last little plug in, also, if you want to make sure you don't miss any more of the action from the Finding Speed GT3 League for the remaining 3 rounds, and make sure you subscribe to Apex Racing TV, give a like to the video as well, and that's going to make sure that you're going to not miss any of that action, as I said. So first sort of times are starting to come in, and already Tom Dadswell puts his stamp on the front of the field. Dane 3/10 up on Kataya at the minute after his first lap. We're going to see things tighten up a lot more than that, I'm sure, at the end of practice. I think it was a second between the top 10 in all classes. So yeah, it's going to get tight out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the times are only going to come down, you would imagine. The track is actually pretty hot out there at the moment in qualifying. I was looking at it earlier, and it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which I believe is just 38 or so degrees in Celsius terms, so pretty hot. It could be a lot cooler, so the drivers are not going to have the full amount of grip that would otherwise be available to them. But yeah, nice 0.3 of a second gap at the top is going to do that as well very nicely indeed after his first stint out on the circuit. And Carter's also done a very good job as well in the silver category to put himself 3rd overall, 0.7 off the overall leader, but he's got a very nice 4 or 5/10 second gap to 2nd place in silver.
Yeah, definitely going to be so. You have to wait and see how things all shuffle out. Tom's Dadswell, we saw just have a little flash of red on the timing tower on Leffe, which means he had an off track, so his current lap that he's on is going to be invalidated, so he's not going to be able to improve any further. Dara Edginson, who we're watching on screen at the minute, representing Indy Autosport. Yeah, he had a strong showing last week at Road Atlanta in the sunset and the floodlights, so we'll see if he can continue competing at the top of Pro Silver today as well. But so certainly looks like a good start for him, 2nd in class, 5th overall. Dan Carter just coming towards the end of his flying lap as well, and yeah, he's looking very, very strong in that Pro Silver. We can see we're going to say the qualifying session is already beyond the 5-minute mark. Most drivers have got a time in. Not seen too many people tripping over each other so far, Dane, but I'm sure people have had their optimal laps not quite work out for them so far.
Yeah, they do seem to be behaving themselves quite a bit at the moment, but I would imagine some drivers, especially if you're trying to get out of someone's way, usually at circuits there are some wider sections that, you know, they could pull off to the side at. Hungaroring, especially in the middle sector, it is so tight and technical that you can find it very difficult to actually get out of somebody's way if you're trying to, let alone trying to get past maybe a slow driver, maybe you're a gold driver trying to get past a bronze driver on a qualifying lap, then it can be very difficult for the drivers. So it looks like they have done a good job so far in the opening few minutes, as a little bit of wheel spin there on the exit of the first hairpin in this final sector for Oscar Sale, who is doing a fantastic job as the only bronze driver inside the top 15. Currently 9th overall, and I believe he's just started a flying lap for himself. As I say that, a lot of drivers suddenly getting off tracks, it looks like.
Yeah, like I say, Oscar definitely punching above his weight at the minute, so cracking job from him so far. He wasn't at the top of the bronze standings after race 1 at Road Atlanta, so down in 18th in his class so far. So I can't remember, I'm afraid, if perhaps that was because he had an incident. Or maybe, yeah, he's just found a whole boatload of time this week at a more comfortable circuit for him. So we'll have to keep a close eye on Oscar, see how we go. But yeah, in the meantime, Dadswell still at the top of the overall and pro gold standings, as we're starting to see now the cars tripping up a little bit more over each other, I think, as we're getting into the heart of the qualifying session now. And yeah, John McLennan there decides that isn't a lap for him, and he gets out of the way and tows back to pit lane. You know, no problem in qualifying. The guys taking a tow, they can jump back to pit lane whenever they want and get a fresh set of tyres. Any repair will be automatically, any damage, sorry, will be automatically repaired, and they can go out and get another attempt in at those laps. But yeah, you're saying about those 1Xs, Dane. Yeah, I'm seeing plenty of these little red flashes on the timing tower showing that cars are getting either off tracks or incidents of some description. So yeah, lots and lots of time for the cars where they're not going to be putting in a valid qualifying time.
And that's not even the least of the drivers' worries either, because you've got to think about the new features that have come into iRacing over the past few months. With Mount Washington hill climb that they introduced, they managed to optimize 3D objects a lot better. So Hungaroring is the first circuit on iRacing, in the road side at least, to have 3D modeled curbs. So those green and white curbs that are massive in the real world, you see drivers massively complaining about them in, so for example, the Austrian Grand Prix at Red Bull Ring, those green and white curbs are destroying parts of drivers' cars. They're massive in the sim as well for the first time. Usually at places like the Red Bull Ring or Silverstone in iRacing, they've been relatively flat and it's been sort of artificially bumpy. But here, the curbs are 3D, and it does actually slow the drivers down if you get too far onto them, especially, say, on the outside of turn 4, the left-hander at the top of the hill that some of the drivers are coming up to now. Those curbs on the outside do slow you down, and especially if you get on the wrong side of them, there's a big old lip you've got to climb over to get back onto the track. So it's a new thing that iRacing have introduced, and it's quite interesting to have this new challenge that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, definitely a new dynamic then to the service, and like I say, going to be a new experience for some of the guys up there. You know, that I'm sure there's been varying levels of preparation during the week for this circuit for the guys running in the league, and so those that have put their time in have already, you know, identified these sort of details that they need to be careful of, where perhaps a few others might be having to figure it all out during qualifying session at the minute. So yeah, we'll see who's done their homework and who's struggled that a little bit more. Yeah, Tom Dadswell still at the top of the standings. His gap has been, his lead over Kataya rather, has been reduced just a little bit, but still almost 3/10. Tom Brown currently at the top of the Pro Silver standings, with Carter just a tenth or so behind. And then I was just about to take a breath to say Oscar Sale is still leading the Pro Bronze, but right as I say that, Timothy Bray, who we're watching on screen, takes that Pro Bronze pole position for the moment, 11th overall. And yeah, Pip Sale by just 100th or 1500ths of a second. So yeah, super close.
Yeah, very close. Up there in the top of the bronze qualifying standings at the moment. A couple more drivers running off the track. I believe for the most part on this circuit, they are using the 4 wheels off system. That's also fairly new to iRacing in recent months, and so it's the red and white curbs that will be determining the track limits for most of the circuit. If you get all four wheels over the red and white curbs, then you will be looking at getting a 1x, and in a lot of other places, for example the chicane that drivers have just gone through now on screen, you'll be getting slowdown penalties through the S's as well. You run a bit too far wide, you will get a slowdown penalty, and those can have a massive effect on the race, especially if it's tight in, say, the front of the field or the midfield. With the circuit where overtaking might not be the easiest, slowdowns are definitely not what you want to be getting.
No, absolutely, and like I say, I think plenty of guys are going to be suffering out there with those. We can see a lot of the field at the minute are on their outlap on the timing screen. You know, 10 of the top 20 cars all showing as being on their outlaps. So we're really into like the second phase of qualifying now, as everyone's having another little runners. I wonder if that was it definitely was a deliberate line from the car ahead of Timothy Bray there, going way off track, it seemed like, into the final corner to try and launch himself out onto the front straight. So he's going to be gaining a little bit of an advantage there by going off track and knowing that that's not going to actually give him an official iRacing off track, if you like, and not affect the start of his lap, as Fletcher improves his fastest lap up into third position. I thought he was going to park up and tow back to pit lane, but and he is now, in fact, now he's gone past turn one, so he was obviously happy with that improvement. The top 4 positions locked out from the pro gold drivers at the minute, then the next 5 from the pro silvers, and then back to Roman Kubin, who's on screen right now looking to improve his current lap time of a 1:44.76, so just a second off the overall pole of Tom Dadswell, as Bradbury, there you go, right on screen at the perfect moment. Ted Bradbury jumps up into second place. Still nobody can get within 2/10 of Dadswell so far, but Ted Bradbury, yeah, did a cracking job on that one, jumped himself up the standings up into that second place.
Yep, absolutely. I believe he's got one of the highest iRatings in the field, and of course, whilst iRating isn't the perfect representation of a driver's pace, it gives you a good enough estimate. So not too surprised to see him up at the top over there. And yeah, on qualifying, still doing a pretty good job in his Porsche GT3R. Two people going very wide in the background of that shot at turn 4. It's a very easy corner to misjudge. Because uphill you can't see the apex of the corner until you're already over the crest, and it's too late to make any real adjustments. So it can be very difficult for the drivers to really work out where they need to brake and turn in for that part of the circuit. So going wide at turn 4 is probably going to be quite common. Another interesting thing is the variation in drivers' car choices. Usually in a GT3 series or even GTEs, where you've got quite a large number of cars to choose from, there'll always be one sort of car that will be the quickest, and most drivers will gravitate towards that. That was very close, and still is very close, coming out of the right hand. That's Bradbury's lap done for, and he's going to move his way off the track and tow to the pits. But lots of variation in the car choices. Even seen the Audi on circuit. I haven't seen the Audi on circuit since the Lamborghini was actually added to iRacing earlier on in the year. It seems that the Lamborghini is definitely the more popular of the two, and they have similar handling characteristics. So seeing the Audi back on track is always a pleasant sign.
Yeah, no, it is great to see that everyone hasn't just drifted towards the one optimal choice. We've got the one lone McLaren out on track as well, represented by Stephen Broomfield, currently in pit lane. But it's kind of interesting that, yeah, we've got this real mix of cars, but actually have got some quite big kind of groupings. So, you know, positions 1 to 3 are Porsches, 5 to 7 are Porsches as well. Then going a little bit further down the field, positions 18 to 22 are all BMWs. So like I say, yeah, there is a good variety, but everyone's kind of like clumped together in their own little groupings at the minute. 4 minutes remaining, so only kind of 2 laps or so available for each driver to improve on their previous bests. And we're seeing Jensen Agensen's here in that 7th place as he goes a little bit wide. I dare say that was on off track for that one. We saw it flash up on the timing tower, and there we go. He pulls off track and is going to reset to pit lane, have a little breather, and have his one final attempt out on track to improve on that gold qualifying position that he's currently in.
That was been up at the front of qualifying since the very beginning, and he is currently still out on track trying to improve on that. He's not happy with the lap that he's done so far with 3 minutes left in qualifying. Now he's still out there trying to improve. He's possibly feeling the pressure a bit from Bradbury and Kataya as well. Both of them on outlaps, just starting their next laps at the moment, just in front of Dazwa on track. He's going to cross the line now, and we'll see, was that the start of a flying lap, or was that a flying lap that didn't gain him any time? I think it was the form. I think this is the start of a flying lap for Tom Dazwa.
Yeah, and we'll see if he can improve at all on his time. That was kind of his opening attempt, I think, is still what his fastest lap is. So we'll have to, let's say, keep an eye on whether he's going to pull away any further. No one still has managed to close more than those 2 attempts. So Ted Bradbury's still in that second place. But we can see all of the top 5 are currently on their flying laps. Then the next 4 cars back all on their out laps. So the top 10 positions are still very much subject to change, with them all out there trying to improve on their lap times. Malcavara here in 5th position. He's one of those cars who's on his flying lap. He's going to be looking to move up the order. He is only just 100th back from Billy Fletcher in 4th, a couple of hundredths back from Kataya in 3rd. So he's definitely got the opportunity, if he can put the lap together, to move forward in a big slide over those curbs. Dane, I dare say that was a bit of what you're talking about, right? The structure of the curbs really upsetting the car as he ran over it, but beautifully held. We'll see if that really costs him any time, but it certainly looked pretty from the rear view camera there.
Yeah, definitely. That was quite a moment for Miko there. Very sideways on the curb. I think the curb maybe didn't cause the slide, but definitely didn't help at all. He did a good job of collecting it. I don't think that's going to help him in terms of lap time. Definitely would make him maybe a little bit slower than he otherwise would be. Bradbury's just crossed the line. He might have one more opportunity, but I think his tyres might be a little bit too hot to go for a competitive second lap, and I don't think that's the line he would usually use through turn 1, but he went a tenth slower than his previous best. Kataya abandoned his lap altogether, did not improve on his time either, so maybe the track heating up or something along those lines. Looking at the in-sim time, it's around about 2:15 in the afternoon, so it could be very possible that the track is just heating up and these times are not maybe going to be coming down too much. As I say that, Nico's actually just improved on his time and moves up into 4th place.
Yeah, so the only mover, you're right, so far in that kind of top 5 on his last attempt. So yeah, good job from Malcavara, like I say, especially if the track is just moving away from the cars out there at the minute. Yeah, Malcavara making that move. Tom Brown still leading the Pro Silver as Roman Cuban, big chunk of curb on the inside, going over the exit chicane and really up on 2 wheels, bouncing the car around, but manages to continue on and just a little bit wide off of the right-hander there, and realises he gets us off track and abandons the lap. Carlos Espada in that gorgeous Lamborghini, and I love the livery that the Nitro guys are running out there as well. Really suits that angular car. He's currently down 16th in the Pro Bronze class, so we'll see if he can improve at all on this, his final attempt. We can see the checkered flag has already come out, so this is the last shot for all of the cars, and most of the cars are in pit lane. We've only got 3 left on track running. Dane, so I think this is pretty much it.
Yeah, the drivers will get to finish their lap times, but we do only have 4 drivers actually on the track at the moment, 2 of which are crossing the line at the moment. We'll see if anybody can improve right at the very end, but other than that, we are getting ready. Yes, we have had someone improve at the very end. Carter has improved, but I'm not sure if he's able to gain any spots. He hasn't gained spots in his class, but possibly overtaking a couple of the drivers around him. He's only half a tenth of a second off of Brown in first in his class, 6th overall, but there's still 2 drivers between them, so very close in the lower half of the top 10 there in qualifying.
Yeah, nice job there from Gentry just at the final moments as well. Again, he got his fastest lap of the session after the checkered flag. So yeah, he's moved up to 9th in the Pro Bronze class as well. So I have to say, looked like a pretty good job from everyone out there. We didn't see too many kind of niggles in that kind of fairly frantic open qualifying session. 40 cars out on track. It's a fairly small kind of length of circuit, really. So yeah, good job from guys. We saw no real kind of dramas. Right, so the guys in the moment are going to be gridding up for their race. Like we said, it's a 45-minute race here today at Hungaroring. Mandatory pit stop due to fuel restrictions, so we can expect cars to be coming in within like a 10-15 minute window somewhere, or a 20-minute window even, within the middle area of the race. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how those pit stops and pit strategies might affect things later on. We definitely saw that a lot last time in round 1 at Road Atlanta. So we're just waiting for the qualifying session to roll over, and then we'll be able to bring up the grid and the cars will start gridding out up on track as well. And there we go, the session rolls over. So let's have a quick look at the grid positions for today. Tom Dadswell, say from pretty much the very beginning of the qualifying session, banged that lap in and nobody else then could touch him for the rest of the session. So showing why he got himself the race win and a championship lead after round 1. Ted Bradbury, though, gave it a good go, just 2/10 off in second. Yusa Kataya then in third, with Miko Makavara in fourth. Billy Fletcher in fifth, and the first of the Pro Silver runners, Tom Brown, first in his class, 6th overall. Roman Kubin then 7th, with Jensen Agenson in 8th. Dan Carter in 9th, with Dara Agensons in 10th. Stin Van Nielen in 11th, with Braden Coates in 12th. 13th then is Anthony Beck, with the first of the Pro Bronze drivers, Timothy Bray, in that 14th. Did in the end manage to hold that spot over Oscar Sale in 15th, second in class. Juan Kayaya in 16th, with Brad Crouch in 17th. Dan Morey in 18th, with Christian Volkner in 19th. Cole Gray then in 20th, with Dominguez Uvasea in 21st. So real tough qualifying session there for Dominicus. We saw him battling at the front of the overall field in round 1, and yet he's Pro Gold driver down in 21st overall after qualifying. So he's going to have to do a lot of work to move himself forward. Luke Davison in 22nd, with Ed Knight in 23rd. Richard Jones in 24th, with Mac Knudsen in 25th. Robert Odoms in 26th, with John McLennan in 27th. Yeko Boshoff in 28th, with Stephen Broomfield, another Pro Gold driver, struggling in 29th. Kansas Gentry in 30th. We saw him, as we said, just get his fastest lap in just at the very last moment. Benjamin Warburton in 31st, with Darren Doherty 32nd. Ollie Morgan 33rd, with Angel Pedrero 34th. Phil Regan in 35th, with Alex Peck in 36th. 37th then is Dan Ocaranza. 38th, Kosh Kelly. 39th, Carlos Espada. And 40th is David Villarano. So yeah, full 40 car grid out there for us today. The cars are starting at the back of the circuit behind the safety car. So they're just going to have a couple of corners to come through, and any moment they're going to be off and away. So Tom Dadswell is going to have the inside line come in through this final corner, with Ted Bradbury then alongside him in second. Let's see when Tom can get us going in round 2 of the Finding a Speed GT3 League. And he went very, very early. Ted Bradbury had to slot in behind, had no opportunity to hang in alongside there. I love these early starts onto safety car, gives us field opportunities to stretch their legs. And there's a big instant in the background. I was just going to say to help, no big instance, and there's huge instant at the back there. There we go, car into the pit wall, car onto the outside wall. To be honest, we only see 3 cars severely caught up in that. It was very, very lucky it was as few as that. Looked like it might have been a lot worse. I'm seeing more cars just falling down the order of, I think, in the mid-pack, so we'll see if we can catch what happened to them later on. But otherwise, back at the front of the field is looking fairly clean, with Roman Kubin pressuring hard on Tom Brown between the gold and silver classes there. 5th and 6th overall. And rest of the field we can see stringing up behind, and contact between the two of them. Kubin into the wall hard. We can see him falling down the order now. Looked like just got tagged from behind going into the braking zone. And we see more incidents up ahead. Billy Fletcher, I think that was the same car then involved, wasn't it? And Brandon Coates as well in the wall. So all kicking off just in the middle of a lap there. Again, it's this tight circuit. Dane, like we said, with 40 cars, it's going to be tough for him out there.
Yep, it certainly is, and they're still going side by side, entering the S's section now, and yeah, just about getting single file through here. Probably a wise move. You're just going to be losing time through the start of the race, especially when everybody is fighting. You don't want to be doing that yourselves, but yeah, massive crash at the beginning of the race, and then a couple incidents into turn 4. When something happens at turn 4, especially on the exit, it can spiral out of control very quickly because it's such a blind corner and a fast one at that. You come around there at some speed and all of a sudden there's a car in your path, not too much that you can do about it. But as we finish the first lap of the race and move on to lap number 2, Dadswell still leads. I thought he went a bit too early, really, because he allowed Bradbury to catch up to him into turn number 1, and the two get very close together on the second time by.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a little bit of contact there in the middle of turn 1 as they took sort of different lines going in there, different apex speed, but yeah, well controlled for both of them. The front two are just making a little bit of a gap at the minute from Yuta Kataya there in third. So it's that Porsche 1 to 6th at the minute, sorry, all Porsche cars. So we were saying about the great kind of variety in cars, but at the minute, yeah, top 6 positions all carried by the Porsche 911 out there at the minute. But yeah, just to confirm then, the 3 cars at the beginning that were involved were Robert Odoms, Braden Coates and Dominicus Uvasea. So I said Dominicus, you know, was right in the doldrums there after being so close to the front of the field in race 1, and that cost him badly getting involved in that incident at the start. Another car who got caught up in the middle of the lap at some point there was Oscar Sale, who we were saying was second in the bronze class. So yeah, unfortunate for him as well.
Yeah, a couple drivers' races not ended, but hindered at the start of the race. The drivers do have a fast repair that they have available to them, so even after that incident at the very start, it might not be the end of their race. They might not be able to score as many points as they would have liked, but they certainly will still be able to get to the finish of the race without too many incidents, as drivers going side by side. A couple of drivers maybe even entering the pits there,
yeah,
I believe. Oh, there's a driver around.
Yeah, Cole Gray falling down the order. We can see him stuck on the inside of the track now, having to wait for almost the entire field to come by to try and turn it around. It looks like he found himself a decent spot to get going without interrupting the traffic flow. So we'll try and catch a replay of what happened to Gray there. Don't see any immediate damage on the car, so hopefully he'll be able to continue on, get back up to speed, and give the rest of the 40-minute race a very good go. And here we go, right on cue. Let's have a look and see what happened to Gray as he gets on the brakes into turn 13 and just loses the rear all by himself. A little bit of contact then behind as the cars desperately tried to avoid him. Looks like most of them got through without too much drama, and Gray did a decent job of trying to then get out the way as soon as he could. So yeah, unfortunate for those cars behind, who it might be a little bit of rear wing, a little bit of bodywork damage now from that, but yeah, off and away for another one. And we got a hard battle in the middle of the field between Broomfield and Pedrero, I think it is, for Nitro Racing Team, and Steve Broomfield just not able to hang on to that position. Pedrero driving around the outside of him, and Broomfield's going to be under pressure from Phil Reagan as well if he's not careful. But just about managed to shut the door. We can hear a little bit of contact further back, so I think a bit of nose to tail contact further down the field as well. But yeah, Phil Reagan still right up underneath Steve Broomfield there, with Matt Knudsen then challenging hard on Alex Peck. Sorry, just checking what the A was. And yeah, in the end, yeah, Alex Peck continues forward, and Matt Knudsen's going to have to look for another opportunity to get by. Yeah, pretty frantic still then.
Yeah, it definitely is. As Bradbury has the fastest lap of the race so far in that Pro Gold category, so not letting Dadswell off the pressure. Although, as I say that, Dadswell's lap was faster than the last time by, but it was invalidated, so it doesn't count as a purple or fastest lap of the race. But he did actually extend the gap ever so slightly up at the front. But as you can see on screen, the gap is not large. It is still a very small gap between the drivers out in front, which is what Bradbury would definitely like to see. But as we were saying earlier, overtaking may not be the easiest at this circuit. It is still very narrow and tight and technical. So despite these cars being able to race each other better than the F1 cars, which usually we see racing here,
panic over.
Then, yeah, it was a back marker. Thought maybe there was a slowdown from turn 4, but no, just getting out of the way. I did say it might be difficult for some of the drivers to get out of the way, but I guess that's a very effective way of doing it, is to just go completely off the circuit on the runoff area and get well out of everyone's way.
Yeah, absolutely. I was about to say that Dadswell and Bradbury hadn't really gapped the cars behind as much as I thought, and then just during this lap they've kind of done it. You know, now they have got quite a big gap back to Kataya and Malkavara in 3rd and 4th. We can see them line astern in their matching team livery for race gear. Then Tom Brown, first of the Pro Silver runners, so he's doing a good job hanging onto the coattails of those Pro Gold drivers in front. And if he can keep doing that, he's going to continue just to gap Dan Carter then in 2nd in class in the Pro Silvers. We look at Timothy Bray then for Pro Bronze. He has got a very, very healthy lead at the minute over the next Pro Bronze driver of Luke Davis. So there's like 5 overall positions between 1st and 2nd in Pro Bronze. So yeah, Timothy Bray doing a great job so far. He just needs to stay out of trouble, try and keep in the flow of traffic with these guys, and he should be looking very strong for a very good finish in Pro Bronze. But yeah, so positions 1 to 4 at the minute, Pro Gold, then the next 5 positions, Pro Silver, before we then get our first Pro Bronze runner.
Interestingly to note, Dadswell once again setting a faster lap than Bradbury, but Bradbury getting the fastest lap of the race last time by as well, meaning Dadswell's racked up yet more incident points. So got to start watching for those, because there is an incident limit. So not a limit, but there is a place that you will get penalties. It's 18 incident points for the drivers. They will have to come down a drive-through penalty and serve that through the pit lane, and then every 8 incidents after that, although I would expect not too many drivers to have to serve a second one after the first. So yeah, you've got something to watch out for the drivers when they're busy setting their lap times. If they set a faster lap time than the driver behind them, but then the driver behind them gets the fastest lap of the race, they are just racking up those incident points. And yeah, you might go a little bit faster, maybe a couple hundredths faster, but it definitely won't help you in the long run, as that's Dan Carter off the circuit near the end of the S's section. He's going to clatter over those curbs, and oh, it's not the best rejoin. There's a Ferrari trying to avoid him off the circuit even. And that was good avoidance skills, but maybe not the best rejoin in the world, as they're now 3 wide heading into the next corner.
Yeah, that was a bit untidy there, unfortunately, in the end from Carter. He tries to get back up to speed now. He kind of had a reasonable opportunity to get back on track, but yeah, just needed to have judged it so he could just stay on his side of the track, tucked up out the way a little bit whilst he straightened up and got going. So Dan Carter was 2nd in Pro Silver, so that's really given Tom Brown even more breathing space now to the car behind, which is now Sarah Agenstons in 2nd in Pro Silver. As we can see, there's a real train of cars now coming into turn 1. We've got a little bit of move being considered with Carter trying to recover his positions. Again, nice clean move on the brakes into turn 1, and he's going to be looking to see if he can make the same move anytime soon on Benjamin Warburton to try and yeah, move back up through that Pro Silver field. As we got a spin from Christian Vulkner. I was just looking away, so maybe you saw what caused it, Dane, but more collision, more contact as the cars behind tried to avoid as well. Ollie Morgan there, really unlucky he couldn't get back on all 4 wheels to get going again. And yeah, Vulkner now sat there waiting for the whole field to come by, and in the end just decides to take a tow. Yeah, did you quite see what started that off then?
I was actually looking at the timing screen, so I only caught it as the spin happened. But oh, more contact as we cut to the replay. Yeah.
We'll see what happens with Broomfield in a minute. Yeah, but here we. We're going to have a look at that first instance again. So yeah, so let's see what happened with Christian Vulkner then as they come into the left-hander. Did he just lose it by himself, or was there contact? No, he got turned. So it's Vulkner, sorry, that did the turning on the Ferrari just in front of him. So yeah, it was unfortunate. Bit of a pit manoeuvre there, if you like. And yeah, both cars come off pretty badly, getting stuck on the outside of the track. So yeah, a bit optimistic there maybe from Vulkner. And then we can try and see what happened with Broomfield as well. And I think it's going to be Phil Reagan behind. We saw just as we cut away that there was contact between the two of them. So there we go, Broomfield runs wide, and as he tries to maybe cover the space off, just makes contact there with Phil Reagan. So the camera angle we had, we couldn't quite see whether did Broomfield not leave enough space as he came back to the racing line, or did Reagan not go to the edge of the track as much as he could do? We'll have to reserve judgment on that. But Broomfield now coming straight into pit lane, so I guess he's got a little bit of damage, and he's going to be taking a fast repair.
Possibly. I'm not too sure. There was definitely a fast repair taken there. The rear wing especially just shifting over a bit, so that got a bit bent up over the first 7 laps. But yeah, possibly also going to try and take enough fuel and maybe fuel save his way to the end of the race. I'm not too sure exactly how long the drivers are going to be able to make it on a 50% fuel tank. I believe it's around about half an hour. So yeah, especially around a circuit like the Hungaroring, where maybe you don't use as much fuel, you're not flat out for as long. We'll have to see. Maybe he might be able to make it all the way to the end, whereas the drivers that got involved in incidents earlier on definitely would not have had that luxury. So we'll have to see where he ends up near the end of the race. He didn't have to take a tow, so he wouldn't have lost too much time in all of that. So that's something to look out for when the majority of the pit stops start to happen. I would expect around half an hour into the race, but it's looking like some connection issues for Kalea just in front. 6th place in Pro Silver, but Billy Fletcher is behind in Pro Gold. It's very off-putting racing behind a car that just disappears every now and then.
It's the worst thing, right? It's almost the worst possible thing that you could be dealing with as you're trying to drive. So let's stay on board for a whole lap, assuming nothing dramatic happens elsewhere in the field, so we can watch a lap of Hungaroring. So hard on the brakes in the second into turn 1. Let's see what gear he goes down into, and the car blinks away in front of him, dives to the right, down into first gear for Fletcher, and he makes that move. So we can see he was kind of maybe a little bit desperate to get Kalea gone with him blinking away, and now he can concentrate up ahead. Next we've got turn 2, tricky kind of downhill entry. We see in F1 they take really different lines and they can really hang around the outside on an overtake. Flat through turn 3 before we come up the hill then for the really super fast on the crest of a hill. Turn 4, we see many instances here in real life. I think Grosjean, do I remember, having like a big instant trying to make an overtake going through there, and everybody just kind of outbrakes themselves a little bit. None of them really get into the apex there for turn 5. Little tricky chicane now for turns 6 and 7. How much over the curbs to this scramble? A lot is the answer. A bit more on the entry than on the exit. Fletcher has a little nose up the inside. He does. I was surprised there that the car ahead gave him the space. Timothy Bray it was, and we know he's trying to secure that pro bronze position, so just gave him the room. And Fletcher making 2 moves since we've been on board. Now into the quick right-hander of turn, are we on 9 or 11? That was 11. And then we're going to have turn 12 downhill, down on the brakes. Tricky braking zone on that one, over the curb again. Almost at the end of the lap already, so penultimate corner now, turn 13. This left-hander just feels like it keeps going on and on and on. Pit exit, or pit entry rather, here on the exit of the corner on the right there. And here we are back at the final corner already. Being careful of that wall on the inside, but getting as close to it as you can, get the best drive off the corner as possible. Use all of the curb and more on the exit. And there we go, back onto pit lane. So that was a nice little example there of kind of how busy this track can be. 2 moves done from Fletcher on that onboard there. And say it's very tight, twisty. It's a 1 minute 40 laps, so it's not a short lap time, but it feels like it goes by pretty quick. Not much time to breathe in.
Yeah, definitely. It's there's no straights between corners here at Hungaroring. It's literally corner after corner after corner, which makes it a very fun circuit to drive. But after 45 minutes, it does take something out of you to do that entire race distance. Corner after corner after corner. The pit stop will be a welcome break for some of the drivers, I'm sure about that. And yeah, nice little onboard that we got there for that lapper onboard the Lamborghini Huracan. But interesting the track limits that he was using. I'm pretty sure he stayed on inside the track limits the entire lap. That orange sausage curb well, not really a sausage curb, just a large curb there on the inside of the second apex of the chicane, wasn't even there when iRacing released this circuit. It was added on a couple of days after some complaints from the community. It was just getting way too easy to cut it, and in real world, of course, they have those big orange curves on the inside. Another thing that was added that I was looking out for, because I haven't driven this circuit since it was added, is brake marker boards into turn 1. They weren't there at all for the first few weeks. They weren't there for iGPS, so braking into turn 1 was interesting. There were not really too many braking markers, but they do have actual distance boards now there, which is very nice to see. Interesting line being taken by Timothy Bray there, going very wide and taking an inside line through the final corner. That's put him under a bit of pressure from Kalea behind. Of course, the driver having some connection issues, and he's defending this one.
Yeah, Timothy Bray holding onto that inside line as Kalea, right on cue, disappears from our screen. Kalea's going to try and go around the outside, and Bray is going to have to be so careful, giving him a space on the outside, not knowing exactly where that car's going to end up. Looks like Kalea should now have the inside for turn 2, and is Bray going to try and fight it out, hang around the outside? And again, Kalea just disappears, but yeah, Bray's going to slot in. And fortunately, kind of, you know, survival is the key there when you've got a car blinking away the whole time. And so from Timothy Bray having like a 6th place gap over the next position in bronze, it's now Luke Davis, the next car behind him. Hard battle going on here between Boshoff and Warburton as they battle for pro silver positions. And then Doherty just behind in pro bronze as well, making that a little trio. But yeah, not quite sure if a position was made there as we first cut in, or whether Warburton successfully defended. But yeah, that's looking like they're going to continue to battle hard.
So there's a lapped car behind them of Morgan that's getting involved in this one a little bit. But yeah, just sticking back for now, possibly on fresher tyres, so maybe has a bit of an opportunity to unlap himself and move up through the field. But yeah, definitely not what you want to be seeing through the S. There's a lapped car behind you quite close. This might be a move. That's a very damaged car, yeah, of Jensen Atchinson's. And it looks like he might have Carter behind him. Dan Carter, yes, it is. We've seen a little bit of already throughout this race so far, but very damaged car of Jensen Atkinson, and pulls into the pit, so maybe that's damage from this lap.
Yeah, could well be. His previous lap was a 146 flat, which, you know, suggests maybe something happened, but it's not, you know, seconds and seconds and seconds off the pace. So yeah, could well be on this lap that he had that incident. But yeah, he's gone into pit lane now, as you said. He'll take his fast repair and fuel, and he should be more comfortable than Broomfield we saw a few minutes ago to try and run to the end. But again, we'll have to see how that develops as he falls down the field, taking his pit stop. Back at the front, Ted Bradbury is still keeping Tom Dadswell well and truly honest. You know, we can see within half a second, and yet we can't see, we can barely see third and fourth in the back of a shot. So yeah, these two have gapped Kataya and Malkavara now by sort of 4 or 5 seconds. But considering we saw nobody really able to get close to Dadswell in qualifying, yeah, Bradbury has absolutely been on his pace the whole time, and it might come down to a bit more pit strategy from these two as to who's going to come out on top for the second phase of the race. But we'll have to keep a close eye.
Yeah, we definitely will, as yeah, the two Finnish drivers in the background of the shot there, trying to catch up, but not succeeding in that, and they are slowly losing more and more time. Already 12 laps into the race, 20 minutes or thereabouts, so almost nearing the halfway point in the race, which I'm sure some of the drivers will be very happy about. Might be getting, especially if any drivers are using VR. I know that the league organizer Russell Barnes used to use VR for quite some time, but yeah, definitely in VR this would be quite a sweaty race for some of the drivers. But yeah, this is one of the more challenging circuits to drive around, similar to the Nordschleife that's been compared to Monaco Street Circuit as well by some of the F1 drivers. Monaco without the buildings, due to its tight and twisty nature and very little overtaking opportunities. We've seen quite a fair amount of overtaking here today in the GT3 so far, which is good. Hopefully we can see a little bit more of that later on through the race as well. But some small groups starting to form. The drivers form a little train, run around the circuit with each other for a bit, but inevitably someone will go for a lunge into either turn 1 or somewhere else on the circuit, and then it blows everything wide open in that little train.
Yeah, it certainly does. You mentioned Russell Barnes a minute ago, like you say, series organizer. We realised a few, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, he's actually not on the grid today, so we're not quite sure what's happened to Russell. But yeah, he wasn't in the end able to make his traditional back of the field start and see how far he could come through. So hopefully he'll be back for round 3 to get in the mix again. But yeah, in the meantime, nice little train of cars here for sort of 5th position in Pro Bronze back from Alex Peck back to Dan Ocaranza. So we'll have to, again, keep a close eye on how these guys fare as they go through. Nice to see 3 different manufacturers represented. They're all running line astern as well, between Ferrari, Porsche, and the BMW of Kosh Kelly there, who we're seeing on screen at the minute. But yeah, they're looking pretty tidy. So after that kind of frantic first sort of 5-10 minutes, the race has just settled down a little bit now. We're seeing mostly kind of white intervals on our timing screen. So we've got this nice little battle here for Pro Bronze as we see. We've got Bradbury and Dadswell at the front within half a second of each other, and the 2 race gear teammates in 3rd and 4th overall with half a second between each other. But otherwise, the rest of the field is pretty much just having a little bit of a breather. And again, we'll be keeping an eye on when cars start making those scheduled pit stops to try and mix things up. Ed Knight at the minute on screen, running pretty closely to Carlos Espada. So Carlos just taking a defensive line into the final corner. Ed Knight going very, very wide on entry. He's going to try and cut back and get a much better drive off the corner. Let's see how that works for him and whether he can make that move forward in the Pro Bronze. Looks like he does. He's going to get that move done really before they get into the braking zone. And let's see if they can both get it stopped nice and cleanly. And for Ed to make that move, and he does. Carlos not going to really get a sniff back on exit, I don't think. No, so Ed Knight, nice clean moves. They set that up at the final corner by taking that really wide entry, and he's going to be looking to try and chase now after Kansas Gentry, who's the next car in his Pro Bronze class.
It is interesting that the drivers only score points within their class. Of course, in the Apex Racing Leagues, you've got drivers scoring points based on overall position, and that means that everybody fights everyone. And oftentimes you will see pro drivers battling with AM drivers in those leagues. But here, it's almost in their best interest, the Pro Bronze and Pro Silver drivers even, to let the faster class drivers by. Maybe just to avoid battling with them and avoid losing time. When you were looking at drivers up at the front of Pro Bronze, letting people by so that he didn't lose time to the driver behind him who was slowly catching him, it makes it a little bit more interesting. But I'm not sure which sort of point scoring method I prefer. What about you, Lee? Do you prefer them scoring points separately or together?
It's an interesting one, right? Because maybe from a pure broadcast entertainment view, I would kind of like overall point score, so that people always have a reason to battle and to fight and to try and make the next position on track, regardless as to which class they're in. But you know, if I'm a driver, why do I want to be fighting with a car in a different class? You know, so it's kind of an interesting one, but like I say, that's the point system that we've got here, where everyone's just competing within their own class. In theory, that's what a traditional class race is supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be, you know, in this case, 3 different races happening just at the same time, but you know, they're 3 separate races. So, so like I say, that's certainly what we're working to here, and arguably it can help for a little bit of kind of cleanness as well, where again people aren't desperately trying to make moves on people in different classes or trying to scramble back through the field. They can just kind of concentrate on their own race a little bit more. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Just saw Knudsen make his way into the pit, and I didn't see any damage to his car, so that's probably a scheduled pit stop, which might set off a whole bunch of pit stops if drivers decide to battle up against maybe a potential undercut there. But something interesting to note, he really was late on the brakes into the pit lane. You put this he got down to pit speed maybe 20 meters into the pit lane. Didn't get a penalty. I was a bit worried for him, but he got away with it there. So drivers taking some risks to try and get past the drivers around them in the pit lane. There goes a car very quickly across the screen, getting out of the way for the leaders, coming around through turn 5 and now into the chicane as well. A gap between Dadswell and Bradbury. There's almost nothing between them, as there has been throughout the entire first 25 minutes of the race.
No, like I say, Bradbury absolutely been keeping Dadswell honest the whole time. So now that we're 25, 26 minutes into the race, I think we're going to start to see a couple of these pit stops being made. So we've really not seen basically any of them so far, only kind of forced ones from car damage. So who's going to look to try and make a little bit of a jump? I mean, Bradbury, if he feels like he's being held up, he could do, but I dare say having Dadswell there in front of him to use as a reference marker is probably helping his pace. So I would be pretty surprised if Bradbury kind of makes an early stop. But further down in the field, we could certainly see someone trying to get out of a bit of traffic, especially if they feel like they're bottled up behind a slower class driver. So we'll have to keep half an eye out for those pit lanes movements as Kataya and Malkavara come onto the front straight as well. Still line astern working very nicely together. We've not seen them really kind of squabbling away, holding themselves up particularly. So good kind of teamwork of just they need to be just getting the quickest possible lap times that they can do, and maybe as we get to the closing moments of the race, then they can start squabbling who's over that third position. So Timothy Bray perhaps being the first of the kind of the front runners, if you like, to make a scheduled pit stop. So pitting from that first place in the Pro Bronze class, and that means that Luke Davis now takes over that class lead for the time being. So we'll have to keep an eye on Bray and Davis to see when Davis makes his pit stop where Bray will come out in relation. Jakob Boshov's got a little bit more space around him now than when we saw him sort of 5-10 minutes ago, when he was in a bit more of a battle with Warburton. So he's made that move at some point during the last few laps, and this is his opportunity now to try and break away a little bit and close up on Dan Carter, who's a good sort of 6.5-7 seconds down the road.
Yep, got an opportunity now to move up through the field, get some nice clear air running. It's always nice to get some clear air running when you've been involved in battles throughout the first half of the race, that's for sure. Definitely give him maybe a bit of an advantage when it comes to the pit stop cycles as well. We still haven't seen too many of the top runners making their pit stops, only like you say, the leading bronze drivers starting to move down into the pits. Also not seen anybody taking a drive-through penalty yet, which is good to see, but obviously still 17 minutes left for drivers to maybe cross that incident threshold, as Davis and I believe that's Carter just behind, still going on with a bit of a battle here. So that's going to help Boshoff, and also help the bronze driver just gone down into the pit lane as well. So yeah, it's definitely not what they want to be doing. Carter straight down into the pit. So I think at this half an hour mark, drivers starting to all come down the pits. I wouldn't say it's too many laps away now, until we see everyone down into the pits.
No, absolutely. It's really going to start kicking off anytime soon. So yeah, Dan Carter from the Pro Silver class being the second car that we've really seen making that pit stop. That's going to be an opportunity again for him to get out underneath from the rear wing of Luke Davis and see if he can build up some time and try and make some positions once everything shuffles itself out. Timothy Bray here, he is on his completing his out lap after that pit stop, so he's actually got a nice bit of clear track in front of him, so he needs to try and concentrate on not getting tangled up with Gentry behind, but just building that gap and banging those laps in to see if he can continue his kind of what should be lead in the Pro Bronze class over Davis. So like I say, we'll keep an eye on that, but good to know that Bray has got a bit of clean air to start him off. Still just half a second between Bradbury and Dadswell first and second, still half a second between Kataya and Malkavara third and fourth, as there's Kataya right on screen coming by to take another lap. So none of those guys looking to even consider making a pit stop quite yet. I mean, let's say none of them really are bottled up, so there's not particularly a reason, unless somebody started with kind of low fuel, I guess. They're just going to keep plugging away until they really need to make their stop, or until they maybe come across a cluster of lap traffic maybe.
Yeah, and what was also interesting just to see there for a moment is that Carter came out quite considerably behind Bray, Timothy Bray in 6th place in the bronze category, because that's relevant, because Bray obviously was leading and should very easily retain the lead when we see the rest of the bronze drivers pit, because Carter was just behind the current bronze leaders, although yeah, looks like they're going to come up behind.
Yeah, Luke Davis in pit lane now, so yeah, we'll see how him and Bray turn out as Davis completes his pit stop, as we're seeing Ocaranza into pit lane as well. So yeah, number of the pro drivers now starting to make those stops a little bit earlier than the rest of the field. Let's keep an eye on where Timothy Bray is going to come out in relation to Davis. Has Davis already made his stop and is exiting pit lane? He is indeed, and Timothy Bray comfortably holds on to that lead. We can see that, yeah, Davis only now getting out the pit limiter and getting up to speed. So, yeah, that looked like that worked out nicely for Timothy Bray, giving himself a bit of breathing space for what should shake out to be that pro bronze lead. Here's Dadswell and Bradbury, and Dadswell into pit lane, Dane. So this is the opportunity now. If Bradbury thinks he has got any pace, he needs a little bit of clear track for a moment to get on with it. And there's a very slow car in front of Dadswell into pit lane. I think Dadswell was maybe lucky there. I think he just about got to the pit limiter by the time he got on top of that Ferrari, but that could have really cost him a couple of seconds. We'll have to see how it shakes out, but I think he just about got away with it. But that's not what you want when you're pinning it into pit lane, battling for the overall race lead.
Yeah, definitely not. Some drivers obviously taking it a little bit more cautious
Everybody
than
in basically
others.
now, Dane, sorry.
Yeah, basically. You can see on the timing tower, everybody into the pit. So possibly that's Bradbury fuel saving behind Dadswell, in which case he very well might have the pace to overtake him and do the overcut in the pit lane and come out in front. It is going to be tight. We'll have to see how he goes when he comes into the pits. But through turn 1 now, out of pit exit, comes your original race leader, Tom Dadswell. We will see where Bradbury comes out. Looks like Fletcher also not going into the pits. Currently, Bradbury is just entering the S's through turn 9. Then,
But a little bit of traffic, though.
Yeah, that's not going to help him, is it? With the drivers just in front. A couple of silver drivers, it looks like. But probably we'll be able to get into the pit lane before it becomes too much of an issue. Although what might be an issue is if the driver in front decides they also want to go into the pits. We'll have to see how this all plays out. Blue flags, gets out of the way. And yeah, very nice. Cleared and into the pits comes Bradbury. Let's see what's going to happen here for the race lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, Fletcher then is the only other car continuing on not having made a pit stop as of yet. The rest of the top of the field, pretty much the whole field, in fact, have made their pit stop now, apart from Fletcher. Just whilst Bradbury makes his stop, yeah, Katira and Malcavara came out in the same order for what will be third and fourth in gold. Tom Brown still leading Pro Silver, and Dara Agenson still in second. There's Billy Fletcher now taking his pit stop as well. And where is Tom Dadswell, as he's going to be coming around the final corner any time now, and we'll see where Bradbury is going to come out in relation. Here he is. Here's Tom Dadswell coming through the final corner. Bradbury is still stationary in his pit box at the minute. Only now is he pulling away. He's off the pit limiter straight away. It could be fairly close, Dane, as Bradbury comes into view. But here, or Dadswell comes into view, sorry. But Bradbury, I think, has got it covered. That's worked out really nicely indeed. Can he get the drive off of turn 1 to defend the space? And he can. So, like I say, Dane, you called it absolutely right. That bit of fuel saving for Bradbury the whole time behind Dadswell in the first half of the race, or 2/3 of the race as it ended up being, allowed him to go that one lap extra further. He had a little bit of traffic, but it obviously wasn't enough to cost him. Or conversely, was that slow Ferrari at the pit entry for Dadswell actually what cost him the race lead there? We'll have to speak to Tom later on and find out. But yeah, Ted Bradbury then takes over the lead. We'll have to see if he can hold on to it for the next 10 minutes.
I think it might have been a bit of both. The Ferrari definitely didn't help, but I feel like Bradbury was just biding his time for that. This is going to be a 2-second faster pit stop for Bradbury, we've been told. So that actually would be it, because the gap was very small. So that's interesting. He's maybe underfueled, has Dadswell overfueled. We'll have to wait. It's actually, no, that would make sense. 2-second faster pit stop because he has less time to go.
Bradbury had a very bad corner there. Sorry to interrupt you, Dane. Yeah, Bradbury had a very, very bad corner, and that allowed Dadswell to get all over the back of him now as they come around the last section of the lap. So fortunately, it didn't cost Bradbury that time, but he's maybe just feeling the pressure a little bit instantly, or maybe just trying to get those tyres up to temperature on the opening lap. But yeah, it's definitely a battle for us to be keeping a very close eye on through the remainder of the race. So like, as I was confirmed, there wasn't really any other obvious changes in the kind of the top 10 positions or so. Say Kataya and Malcavara have ended up in third and fourth. Still Tom Brown is still leading Pro Silver class from Dara Adrianson, and Timothy Bray, did hold on to that Pro Bronze lead. Got a couple of spots over Luke Davis now, and a good 7 seconds between Bray and Davis in the Pro Bronze class. So looking fairly comfortable still there for Bray.
Yep, yeah, it definitely is. I think, it's very wide in the background. Ooh, weaving a little bit.
Temperature maybe?
Or maybe he's run wide. He's lost a lot of time there. I think he might have run onto some grass maybe on one of the corners, touched some grass, had a bit of a spin, a half spin, caught the car a bit. But weaving down the straight there, not usually something you'd expect to see. We've got a replay coming up. Maybe this will explain what's happened.
That marker perhaps? So Dadswell on the inside. Is he going to make contact with him? No, he doesn't. Just loses a rear initially, and then so it wasn't really anything there. He had a little moment of losing the rear. I wondered then if that was going to overheated his tyres for the briefest of moments, and then he was going to have a bigger issue on the next corner. But no, not really. Just maybe not feeling entirely comfortable on the car yet. But we can see he's already pulled a little bit of that time back from Bradbury in first. So Dadswell should be in a position to continue closing, I think.
Maybe just a bit of frustration there with the weaving down the straight. It didn't look like there was any particular other reason for it. But the pit stop time does look like it was just the fuel saving that's allowed him to catch to overtake in the pit stop. Obviously with a 2 second shorter time, because Fletcher, the other driver, to go an extra lap with fuel saving, also had a very short stop compared to the other drivers. So that's really what he's done. He's just stuck behind Dadswell, saved some fuel, gone an extra lap, and is able to then take less fuel at the pit stop, which of course saves time. So that's a very good strategy there for Bradbury.
Yeah, like I say, very, very nice display having both Bradbury and Fletcher as the kind of a reference on there. Bradbury just having a little bit of connection issue, not what you want to be doing in the closing stages of a race. We've seen a surprising number of drivers kind of blinking away during this race, Dane. So I wonder if, there's a little bit of a struggle going on the actual server, but he's struggling, and Dadswell now is all over the back of Bradbury already, so he's really closed up on that space, and he's almost having a little look on the in the middle of a corner there. So Bradbury just struggling a bit for now. Dadswell feeling kind of confident after kind of that issue last lap by. He's going to make a move already, Dane. I think he's pushed up alongside. What's happened to Bradbury? Dadswell's got that pace on him at the minute, but Bradbury able to cover off the line through the middle of the circuit. Dadswell scrambling all over the grass on the inside of the corner there, trying to make that corner as wide as he possibly can. But Dadswell feels like he's got the pace at the minute. He's going to be putting pressure super hard on Bradbury, and we'll have to see if Bradbury can defend as they're moving around in the braking zone, trying to kind of out-psych each other, almost sort of faking positions or faking lines. But Bradbury needs a good exit now off of the final corner to not be under lots of pressure from Dadswell.
Bradbury having actually serious connection issues is paying his latency between himself and the server. Went all the way up to 500 milliseconds, so it's half a second of latency between the server getting his inputs and him actually making them. So really serious connection issues that he was having, and that might have been affecting him a little bit. It's obviously very off-putting to have that sort of thing happen to you, because whilst everybody sees you disappearing, quite often you will see everybody disappearing. So it's just as off-putting for him as it would be for Dadswell following him. So maybe that was why he lost some pace through the mid part of that lap. It does seem that he has picked up the pace a little bit now in the opening part of this lap, but still that ping issue remains, and as I say, that has just disappeared. So hopefully that is the last of the connection issues that we'll see for the rest of the race. Maybe he's even under fuel slightly and having to lift off a little bit in the slower parts of the circuit. We never know.
That's possible. I mean, let's hope you're right that his short pit stop, isn't going to be the death of him, with him under fueling the car a little bit. We'll have to see how that develops. We've just under 5 minutes remaining in the race, but so fortunately from this great onboard view from Dadswell, we've not seen Bradbury blinking anymore on this lap. So fingers crossed for him, he won't have any more issues there. But Dadswell still has got the pace. He's all over him. Whilst these guys have been squabbling it a bit, that has allowed Kataya behind to close. We can see him in the back of a shot now, and he's got a big gap over Malcavara. So Malcavara's kind of nowhere in that. Kataya's going to be sniffing an opportunity to get involved in this battle. If these guys hold each other up any further, Dadswell has a little look to the outside. Can he get a bit of a cutback on the penultimate corner? He can't, but I dare say he'll try for a wider entry now into the final corner, and I call it completely wrong. He takes a tighter entry, and we'll see. Let's say if Kataya can get himself involved in that battle. But yeah, all he's gained since I started pointing out Kataya, he's gained another half second of these guys. So he's coming.
Yep, side by side to the last 3 corners of the lap on that time by for Bradbury and Dadswell. These two really going at it. Oh, that's deep into the corner. That's very deep. They make contact. Oh, they've just about saved it there. Bradbury's taking the lead. He's just nosed ahead. Dadswell, Bradbury, blinking right out of the frame there. He's completely gone and gone deep into turn 2 as well. There's Dadswell up the inside. They're still making contact. And now into turn 4, Dadswell finally gets the lead. But here comes Kataya, and he's going to catch right up to these two as well.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate for Bradbury there. He just couldn't get the car stopped into, I think it was turn 2, right? And like I said, that just kind of set off the chain reaction of him being in the wrong position and not able to hook that racing line back up again. And yeah, nice clean move in the end from Dadswell. It was always a bit tricky with Bradbury having a little bit of connection issue again right at the wrong moment, but fortunately for the two of them, they managed to sort it out. And yeah, nice move in the end. So I say a clean move. Obviously, there was the contact initially, but so I think that was more from kind of Bradbury just not quite getting the corner right and being pretty slow on apex. So we'll see how the guys view that later on. Yeah, Kataya needs Bradbury to just hang on to Dadswell now and get involved a little bit more, just to allow him the chance to close those last few attempts and really make this a battle for all top 3 positions. But yeah, 3 minutes left in the race. Staying after a 45-minute run and more contact as Dadswell misses the apex. A little bit more contact again for Bradbury. That the first bit of contact I kind of initially forgave him for, and I was surprised he just continued driving on and made that second contact. So that's really unfortunate for that kind of race-long battle for Dadswell and Bradbury to end in kind of disappointment there for Bradbury, and what my initial view of just kind of clumsiness, unfortunately, maybe a little bit of desperation of wanting to get that first position back. But we'll take a look at it again later on. So that lets Dadswell off the hook, certainly, from that race-long battle. But he has got Kataya with him. He's 6 tenths back, so we'll see if Kataya can really get in amongst that. But I dare say Dadswell now has got, if he hasn't got damage, of course, he's got a little bit of breathing space to try and just build that gap over Kataya and secure the win. We see Bradbury just coming out of pit lane there as we cut away. He's going to come out 10th overall, 5th in class, as Timothy Bray defending hard from Dan Carter, trying to break the toe as they head towards turn 1. Carter's got a good run. Bray just drifting to the middle of the track a little bit. Carter still goes to the inside. Can they both get it stopped? They can. Bray gives just about enough space on the apex, but runs out of track on the exit. And in the end, Carter's got the drive off of the corner. So yeah, good attempt for a bit of defensive driving there from Bray, but in the end just didn't quite get that line right to be able to drive off the corner.
Bit of an odd one there, because obviously they're in different classes, so where Carter is relative to Timothy there makes absolutely 0 difference to in terms of points. And it's not like Bray is struggling for track position over Davis behind. You can just about see Davis behind him all the way in the background of the shot as he rose over the crest at turn 4, so he's definitely not struggling for track position. So I'm not too sure why he was defending that one so hard. Of course, after letting some of the leaders by in the gold category, but around the final corner, you can see the gap is not the biggest between our overall race leaders in Pro Gold, Dadswell and Kataya. Actually, not a very big gap at all, but in the background of the shot, there's Barney the flagman waving the white flag. We're at the final lap of the race.
Yeah, final lap. So Kataya has managed to continue closing a little bit. He's just within that half-second mark. You can see potentially a little bit of traffic coming for Dadswell. We'll have to see if that's really going to affect things at all. But yeah, Kataya in the hunt here, kind of from nowhere almost for the race win. Didn't really see that coming until the squabbling between Bradbury and Dadswell just allowed him to close up at the end there. He's running out of opportunities if he does want to make a move for that race lead. It doesn't really feel like they're catching that back marker quick enough to help Kataya out. But he's within sort of 3-4 tenths as they're coming around through the middle sector now, and trying to find a little bit of a different line, try and hook that up for him. I think Bradbury has got Dadswell, sorry, has got that little bit of damage on the front left, I think. And so we'll have to see if that's really affecting him at all. But yeah, Kataya kind of all over him through the chicane there, underneath the rear wing. Not got much of an opportunity now, Dane, to make a move. We've got sort of 3-4 corners remaining, and that's going to be it.
He might have to pull a Kimi Räikkönen from a few years ago and really send one down into the next corner, turn 12. I don't think he's close enough though into the final real hard braking zone of the circuit. Dadswell now got a bit of traffic in front of him. It might even be the same Ferrari that held him up in the pit entry. He goes very wide. He's gone all the way to the barriers on the outside of the circuit there to get out of the way. So good stuff from the lap car, and that just about does it for Dadswell.
Yeah, so Dadswell almost kind of lights the flag victory for Tom Dadswell. So it looked like it was going to be a little bit tougher for him at the end there, with Bradbury doing a great job on the overcut, as you say. Katayev then had a good run at it in that final lap, but couldn't quite get close enough to really make a move. So yeah, Dadswell takes the Pro Gold victory. As we see Tom Brown coming over the line for Pro Silver. He was pretty much unchallenged in the Pro Silver class all the way through the race. Dara Agensen's coming across the line in second. Where's Timothy Bray? He's going to be, here we go, coming across the line in a moment for Pro Bronze. So a good strong result again from Bray. We saw him looking pretty much under control for the majority of the race in that Pro Bronze class. And there we go, Bray crosses the line now. Any last minute dramas? Dan Carter running out of fuel. So after him battling with Timothy Bray a lap ago, well, he shouldn't have been battling for a position that didn't matter, as you said, Dane. He needed to have been desperately saving fuel. So that's going to cost him now, as it looks like Boshoff and Jones probably just about going to catch him, and it's uphill through this final corner. Dan Carter's in serious trouble.
Yeah, the finish line is very close. He might just about be able to make it if he can just get his car to roll a bit further. The finish line's over there, and I'm not too sure about that. I don't think he's going to be able to make it. Maybe he'll get a very kind person to push him across the line. Maybe he's getting on the voice chat. I know that I've been pushed across the line in an official race a couple times. Hopefully, maybe someone will do it, maybe someone won't. We might. Oh, another person out of fuel.
And Broomfield, of course, was that driver that made that pit stop after 10 minutes, and we're wondering if he was going to be able to fuel save. So almost made it, but yeah, not quite. He might just be who's going to win, Carter or Broomfield. I think Broomfield has got the momentum.
He definitely does, but Carter's very close to the finish line. I'm not even sure if Carter will make it. 2 miles an hour to the line. Broomfield is definitely going to beat him. Is he going to make it to the line? This is fantastic racing here at the end of the race. Brilliantly clean racing here. And oh dear, Carter's stopped. He's definitely on the voice chat. He's definitely on the voice chat trying to get someone to push him across the line. I don't think anyone's going to do it, and that would be very sad.
Well, that was an unexpected finish from a couple of different positions there. Like I say, that battle between Dadswell and Bradbury, we really thought that was going to come down to the wire, but in the end, yeah, Bradbury just couldn't keep it together, and yeah, allowing Dadswell that win. And then yeah, heartbreak for Dan Carter here from what was a pretty strong position in the silver class, like 6th or 7th in silver class, I believe, 7th I think, and yeah, in the end doesn't quite get to cross that line. So frantic, really, Dane. Like, we had maybe a few minutes of a breather in the middle of the race, but then before we knew it, the pit stops came. Otherwise, great circuit providing us some fantastic GT3 racing. It was a shame we had the kind of fairly big instant towards the back at the very start on lap 1, but luckily not much of the field ended up involved. And other than that, I didn't really see too many kind of silly moves, big instants. Yeah, kind of lots of interest with the pit strategy, some decent overtakes through the race as well. Yeah, nice round 2 from the guys there from Hungaroring. Right, so we're going to switch to our very short message again from our title sponsor Acertech, and then we'll be back in a moment for the race results. And so, yeah, thanks again to Acertech Sim Sports. Acertech Sim Sports Invicta pedals offer the competitive gamer and racing enthusiast who want an immersive sim racing experience. The Invicta pedals have a hydraulic brake cylinder and a proper clutch bite point, and differentiate from other manufacturers by having a true life feel and intuitive setup, all to give you the best and most realistic racing experience of driving on a real circuit. So you can find out more at azertechsimsport.com for more information about their products. Thank you very much to them for providing the prizes for the championship winners at the end of the season. Apex Racing Academy also sponsoring the Finding Speed GT3 League. Apex Racing Academy provide data packs for a number of different cars on the iRacing service, as well as hook up with Virtual Racing School, so you can use their telemetry services over there, one-to-one coaching from professional drivers, and direct access to those World Championship drivers through Discord. You can visit apexracingac.com for more information there. Yeah, as I said, Dane, that was another corker. I felt that race 1 2 weeks ago was action-packed from start to finish. We had very much the same here. We can now have a confirmation of the provisional race results. Of course, there may be changes in points finishes if there's protests or penalties given after the race, but for now, Tom Dadswell was the classified winner in the Pro Gold class. As we said, kind of almost lights to flag, but Bradbury gave him a good run for his money there in the middle of the race, especially. Yusi Kataya doing a good job to finish just 3/10 behind in second for race gear, with his teammate Miko Malkovara finishing in third. Billy Fletcher then with that other driver who took the later pit stop, everyone else finishing up in fourth in the end, with Jensen Agenstons in fifth, Roman Kubin in sixth, Stephen Broomfield in seventh, Ted Bradbury then after that incident finishing a lap down in eighth, and Dominicus getting involved in that lap 1 instance at the very back of the field. Tom Brown then took that victory for the Pro Silver team in what was a 1-2 actually in Pro Silver for Indy Autosport, with Darrell Edginson's finishing in second. Only a few tenths ahead actually of Stin van Neon. So as we were watching the kind of action unfold in that final lap, we didn't quite see that battle between second and third in Pro Silver class there. Anthony Back then in fourth, with Dan Mori in fifth, Juan Calea in sixth, with Jaco Boshoff in seventh, with Richard Jones in eighth, Phil Regan and Benjamin Warburton rounding out the top 10 in Pro Silver. Then in Pro Bronze, we had Timothy Bray taking what looked to be a fairly comfortable win for Team Upstate in the Pro Bronze class over Luke Davis in second. Angel Pedrero then finishing in third, with Darren Doherty fourth, Kosh Kelly in fifth, with Alex Peck in sixth, Ed Knight seventh, Dan Ocaranza in eighth, Oscar Sale in ninth, who again was another driver to get caught up in that incident earlier on in the race, and Kansas Gentry rounding out the top 10 in the Pro Bronze class. So 40 cars on that Hungaroring track, Dane. Let's say we saw some good racing out there.
Yeah, surprisingly a large amount of good racing. I think a lot of it was due to drivers just making small errors. That's to be expected at a circuit that's as tricky and as new to the service as Hungaroring is. But yeah, like you said, not too many rash moves, just trying to bully their way through, or people making contact due to sends up the inside. We didn't see any of that. It was mostly clean racing, just a few incidents where drivers ran a bit wide, or maybe some iffy rejoins here and there. But yeah, for the most part, great clean racing, and I'm very much now looking forward to the third round of the season, which is going to be at Road America, which should theoretically be a lot easier for these drivers to be overtaking at, and hopefully we might get even more overtaking than what we saw here at Hungaroring. Round 3 looks like it might be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, a bit more of an opportunity for the guys there to stretch their legs, but kind of similar in a way to Hungaroring, where it's kind of an old school track. There's not a huge amount of runoff. They got grass verges on the edges. So yeah, we're gonna be looking forward to that one in 2 weeks' time as well. Right, so we've got 2 drivers currently waiting for interview, and it's for 2 race gear drivers finishing in second and third. Let's bring Yusti Kataya in first of all to the commentary booth. Yusti, congratulations on that second position. You were looking pretty strong for a podium spot all race long, but I bet you kind of didn't really anticipate battling for the race win in the closing moments there.
No, it was a small surprise that Ted spun in the penultimate corner, but I was saving the tires a little bit with higher traction control from the start already, and dropped down after the pits, so I had some more rubber left compared to Tom and Ted, but obviously it didn't go quite as I thought, but they allowed me to catch up with them fighting, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, like I say, didn't quite manage to get close enough in that final lap to really make an attempt on Dadswell, but yeah, within a few tenths, so it's super close. Obviously, it was yourself and your teammate Miko Makavara kind of line astern for the majority of the race. I mean, did you just have kind of the edge over your teammate in there, or was it a bit of an agreement of kind of just staying in order as you were and just concentrating on making sure you both got those podium spots?
I think today I might have had a little bit more pace than Mikko, and we already agreed before the start that there will be no funny stuff, no silly business. So only if the other guy makes a clear mistake, then there's not going to be any defending, and the other guy can pass. But I had some pace, and I think Mikko overshot his pit box a little bit, so I got a clean gap after the pits as well.
Yeah, so that explains. Yeah, we missed out on the stream, so that explains, as you say, why there was that little bit more breathing space then after the pit stops. Okay, cool. And how did you find Hungaroring? Obviously, we've been talking about in the broadcast that it's new to the service for iRacing. Yeah, it's a narrow circuit for 40 GT3 cars out there. I bet open qualifying was a bit stressful at times. Like, how was your experience at Hungaroring, and have you had much of an opportunity racing here during the rest of the week?
Yeah, I did, I think, 5 races during the GT Sprint week, and obviously those were not as clean as this race, and yeah, I think I have had some time in the closet practicing, so I think I have done maybe 400-500 laps already. So, but wow. It's a technical track, so it suits me pretty well. So.
Well, it certainly looked like it. Like I say, super result out there for round 2, finishing second in the Pro Gold class, and like I say, giving yourself an opportunity to challenge at the front of the championship going forward. Road America then for the next round. Obviously, yeah, pretty different circuit to Hungaroring. Much more opportunity for the cars to kind of stretch their legs. I mean, you said you kind of enjoyed the technicality of Hungaroring. How do you enjoy Road America?
I think that's the track I've driven the most, so I think it's going to suit me as well. So
awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you battling at the front for the next round as well, UC. Thank you very much for your time, and congratulations again on that that second position. Great. So that was UC for race gear. Let's bring in his teammate now, who finished in third. And Dane, over to you for Mikko Makavara.
Yeah, Mikko, welcome to the commentary booth. Third place for you here today, but for most of the race you were sat in sort of fourth, right behind your teammate for the first stint at least, but then we believe that something may have happened in the pit stops.
Yeah, I kind of had the perfect quali lap and I was super close to Jussi, but from the training I knew that he had more race pace, so I didn't try anything silly in the race. I was just happy to be in his draft, and unfortunately in the pits I braked too late and went over my pit box, and then I was maybe 4 seconds behind him and was clearly dropping off because I didn't have the draft anymore.
And then near the end of the race, of course, we had Bradbury making that mistake in the penultimate corner, gifting you the third place position. You didn't really have too many battles out on the circuit. It was sort of just you and your teammate for most of the race, and then you mostly alone. So most of your, say, battling on the circuit would have been with back markers. Did you struggle with them a little bit? Hungaroring isn't the widest circuit on the calendar.
Well, actually not. Maybe one guy was blocking just a bit, but not a problem. But in the previous race it was crazy, but this was quite okay, and even in the quali none of my hot laps were blocked. So it was kind of a surprise for me.
Well, that's interesting. We were worried about so many cars out on the circuit for open qualifying. It did look like it was very busy out on circuit, but that's good to hear that you didn't struggle too much with all of that. The third round of the season is at Road America, a very different circuit, of course, to the Hungaroring. What are your thoughts on the circuit and heading into the next round?
Well, I haven't driven the circuit maybe in 3 years, but let's see. I think it's a fun circuit, but I'm not sure if it really suits the Porsche. I think it has 2 long straights and not so many tricky corners.
Well, we'll definitely have to wait and see. Well, Mikko, thank you so much for joining us for an interview. Congratulations on the third place, and we will see you for the next round at Road America.
Yeah, and thanks you for the amazing streams.
Well, thank you very much, and we will see you at Road America. That was Miko Magavara in 3rd place there. Great to hear from him as always, and yeah, that wraps up everybody who came to have a chat with us here, Lee.
Yeah, unfortunately, just the 2 race gear guys jumping into Discord this week. So yeah, for next week, drivers, when you're listening back, yeah, grab the Apex Racing TV Discord link from the Finding Speed Discord. I'm sure it's pushed in there, and come join us next week for an interview, especially if you finished in the podium. But if we've got time, we'll speak to anyone through the field as well. But yeah, like I say, for now, that's going to be finishing up our broadcast. As you said, Dane, we're going to be in Road America in 2 weeks' time, 23rd of October. Then just the week after, Nürburgring GP. And then on the 13th of November to Suzuka. So good job if you guys aren't having to pay for like transport costs or anything, because we've gone, North America, Europe, North America, back to Europe, and then across to Japan for the final race. Thanks again to the sponsors of the series, Azertech Sim Sports. You can find out more about their sim racing products on azertechsimsports.com. And also thank you to Apex Racing Academy. Again, you can visit them at apexracingac.com. So make sure, if you've enjoyed the broadcast tonight, guys, subscribe to the Apex Racing TV channel so you can make sure you catch the action in 2 weeks' time at Road America. Give a like to the video as well. That'll really help us with trying to just get that exposure out there. And thank you very much to Dane Baird for joining me on commentary today, and Samuli Kumo doing an excellent job on the cameras, as always, on production. And thank you to the drivers. Good racing, as always, as we see on Finding Speed. And we look forward to seeing the same again, round 3, 2 weeks' time, 23rd of October. We'll see you then.